In the modern 24/7 365 news cycle in which we find ourselves, it seems every company is rapid-firing their increasingly disinteresting wares at our occipital cortex with enough profligate abandon to give the ShamWow guy the creeps. Perhaps out of necessity, sometimes a game or two just plain ninjas the fuck up behind us and finds its way to store shelves before we've formulated even the faintest inkling of what in the ever-loving fuck it actually is. Speaking only for myself, that was very much the case when I was treated my first viewing of Sleeping Dogs at this year's E3, and sure enough, just a couple months later, there it sat wedged uncomfortably between a brittle copy of the Silent Hill HD collection that appeared to be tie-dyed in an aromatic cocktail of urine and menses, and a virtually brand new and mercifully unopened copy of Street Fighter X Tekken. Allow me to state once more for the record, having already blown my wad on the subject during numerous installments of the Hate Bit podcast, that this is one game you should not permit to Sam Fisher the fuck past. Maybe it's just the radioactive drinking water in Tokyo talking, but lately Square Enix has been winding their shit tighter than Hannah Minx's water bra. At this rate, they're actually in genuine danger of having a fucking clue. From my personal 2011 Game of the Year Deus Ex Human Revolution, to even the minor improvements to their flagship RPG series during the incrementally less shitty Final Fantasy XIII 2, Square Enix has apparently recognized their fallibilities over the past decade and appears to be taking genuine steps to ameliorate the problem. Sleeping Dogs does to the increasingly stagnant Grand Theft Auto series what Deus Ex Human Revolution did to BioWare's Fallen Angel Mass Effect. That is, it extends a middle finger, takes a lingering puff off a Cuban cigar, and proclaims, "No, motherfucker, this is how you do it." To commence in decidedly cosmetic fashion, I found the voice acting in Sleeping Dogs to be downright superb, particularly for a game that cuts such a wide swath ethnically. Protagonist Will Yon Lee is dynamic and clearly ethnic without once permitting his performance or those of the supporting cast around him to degenerate into Hong Kong phooey.
White cocksucker! 2 white cocksuckers killed him and stole the dope that he was bringing to you.
White cocksucker! You switching!
The dope that you were gonna fucking sell to me?
White cocksucker!
These 2 white cocksuckers? Who the fuck did it?
Who?
Who, you ignorant fucking chink?
Who?
Who stole the fucking dope?
Cocksucker!
But to every rule an exception, and where Sleeping Dogs voice acting is concerned, that exception's name is Kelly Hu. Mind you, I would never dream of criticizing the performance itself. Miss Hu is as convincing and fantastic as ever. The problem is her in-game avatar has all the erotic appeal of a shuffleboard tournament. I mean, have you seen Kelly Hu? This woman is hotter than Thai food. Why the fuck is her character post-menopausal? Scan her into the game balls-ass naked and keep her that way. You'll still be pulling in Game of the Year awards 5 fucking years from now, just in time for Movie Bob to stop masturbating to it. For the better part of the last decade, gamers and journalists alike have implored developers to resist their natural impulse to succumb to the proverbial one-button-to-rule-them-all syndrome.
And that's when you press a button, something awesome has to happen. So Button Awesome connected now in Dragon Age 2.
In Assassin's Creed, for example, from waffle making to hairy Italian orgies, there's little the combination of the right trigger and the X button cannot do, which makes the fact that Sleeping Dogs requires you to actually depress the A button each and every time you actually want to jump all the more refreshing. Admittedly, in the greater macrocosm of design elements, it's almost a trifling addition to itemize, but in a modern industry where inclusive has increasingly become synonymous with aggressively lobotomized, it's a welcome indicator connoting Sleeping Dogs' less condescending overall design philosophy, a philosophy that truly congeals when engaged in a combat system that is easily one of the more robust martial arts simulations in the history of the medium, coupling the freeform, combo-driven pugilism of Batman Arkham Asylum with a bevy of counters, grapples, and contextual environmental takedowns that place themselves well in advance of the former. Yes, Rageaholics, if Sleeping Dogs is any indication, Wei Shen would shred Batman's steroidal ass in twain like a chicken at an Alice Cooper concert. Perhaps chief among Sleeping Dogs' accomplishments is the impressive amount of polish applied to a new IP, from fist fighting to car handling. United Front Studios have displayed a refreshing competence and developmental acumen on all levels of design, and while you needn't twist my arm to elicit a bellyache concerning the vomitous camera effect during vehicular acceleration, however, a surprisingly negligible amount of time is devoted to actually driving a vehicle in this game at all. I understand the man is in the twilight of his career, but is there any particular reason we've appointed Michael J. Fox as cinematographer during this game's driving sequences? This shit is shakier than the Oslo Peace Accords. The fact that might be less pronounced if the vehicles possess more than 2 speeds, those being inert and hang on to your ever-loving balls. And further, when the inevitable tutorial text elects to jeter into frame and obscure the entirety of your forward field of view fucking perpetually until you've fulfilled whatever arbitrary objective happens to be involuntarily scrawled in your figurative day planner that day, even on an HD display, it's driven home to the player that Sleeping Dogs, though a resounding success, is nevertheless an imperfect one. But don't take my word for it. Shoulder roll your ass on down to the Okinawa Corral and have yourself a good old-fashioned gunfight. This game's gunfighting doesn't suck dick, because fellatio is at least marginally pleasurable for the recipient. Now, the gunplay in Sleeping Dogs is a nebulous black hole from which no fun can nourish the faintest hope of escape, and don't even entertain the thought of bringing a knife to a gunfight, because by the time you so much as make the decision, you'll already be more riddled with lead than Detroit tap water. United Front would have been far better served just dispensing with the gunfighting entirely and instead focusing on their masterful hand-to-hand combat. And to temper this cynicism for a moment, I'm happy to report that for the most part, that is in fact what they've done. Granted, it runs contrary to the game's pseudo-realistic aspirations to have Yakuza Hitman playing Power Rangers in rush hour traffic, but as far as I'm aware, the singular aim of any video game is to be even the slightest bit fun, David Cage's entire career notwithstanding. By and large, fun is exactly what Sleeping Dogs is. If Grand Theft Auto would like to be fitted for another sandbox-shaped crown, then a long, hard look in the direction of Sleeping Dogs is precisely what that will ultimately require. Rent it, buy it, inappropriately fondle it, but above all, fucking play it. I'm RazörFist. God fucking speed.